Mac fanatics like us are the ones that, there are probably not enough of us there to justify Costco putting that type of stuff in their store. So I'm glad that they do offer them. In terms of technical support, I'm sure there's not a whole lot, but
No.
because you got a computer and get your tires too if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get hot dog and a soda for $1.50. That's what I like.
And gas for $2.72.
Yeah. The gas prices are awesome. And we came back from Florida, and it's always amazing. You see how the prices jump as soon as you cross the state lines in some of these states. So, but Florida was about the same as we had up here. So, there wasn't anything. The year before when we went down, it was higher. It was going up. It was over $4 a gallon. But we went down and saw. When we came back from Florida, we stopped by. We usually go to Fort Myers Beach, but Fort Myers Beach was devastated, just completely devastated. They had a debris pile just south of Fort Myers Beach in it was a state park, and it was next to the highway there, and it must have been 3 stories high and about a mile long. And there were trucks constantly coming in and dumping stuff. Other trucks pulling up and pulling metal and recyclables out of it and going out the other end. It was immense. And just imagine anything and everything that a hurricane would destroy would be in the middle of that pile. So,
Charlie, the condo we stayed in 2 summers ago no longer exists right there on the beach.
Oh yeah, it's amazing what got wiped out. It just there isn't even the debris there. The debris got pushed inland, and all the restaurants that we ate at were wiped out. Just gone. There's a slab. It was a 2-story building, and that water came in. It was at least like 15 feet high, plus the waves on top of that, and it just pushed all of that stuff right off their foundation. And they're saying a lot of these people didn't have the insurance, and they don't have, or if they did have insurance, the insurance isn't going to pay enough for them to rebuild. So what they're going to do is they're selling to the developers, and you'll see for sale signs and under contract signs up and down Estero Boulevard on Fort Myers Beach. So
I told my wife we could probably get a pretty good deal on a place down there.
I'm sure you can.
It really hit home when you're watching the news of that stuff, and you're watching footage of, like yeah, that used to be a restaurant. We'd eat there. Yeah, we drove down that road. Yeah, we stayed there, and I tell you, it's a place that we love on Estero Island there. We love that area.
We loved it too. And it's just one of our good friends, he really wanted to buy a place down there and move down there. And it just broke his heart. Because he loved it because it was the old Florida. You had the 1-story places and old houses there, and all of that just got wiped out. So now when they're having to rebuild, they have to rebuild according to the new codes. So they're not going to let them, a lot of times they're not going to let them rebuild. That's it.
That coast on the southwest coast is by far my favorite part of Florida.
Yeah, it still is. We went down to Marco Island though, and came back, and we came back from Marco Island, and Marco Island is a lockdown island. You can't get to the beach. If you rent a house in the middle of Marco Island and you try to use one of the public accesses, it's miserable. First of all, they have small parking lots that they'll charge you either $10 or $20 a day to park at. And then the one beach access that was closest to our place, you'd park and you'd walk a good half mile to a 3/4 of a mile before you could actually get to the ocean. And I said, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the way they had built it, all the condos and hotels, they fenced off and locked off access so that there is very little public access to those beaches. You have to be renting in one of those big condos or the Hilton or the Marriott. I mean, and of course, parking, no on-street parking anywhere. You do that, your car is going to get towed. But I mean, it's totally different from Fort Myers Beach. Because Fort Myers Beach, about every 1/4 mile, you have a public access and you had a parking lot. And
Right.
and my friend had his handicap sticker. If you had a handicap sticker in Fort Myers Beach, you didn't pay for parking. You could park it and you didn't have to worry about putting money in a meter or anything.
Oh,
Yeah, that was free. Well, I mean, Marco Island, very wealthy, very, very wealthy. I think it's wealthier than Naples. I think it's wealthier than Naples. And so I don't recommend going to Marco Island. We're not going to go back. We're going to try and find something else.
I told my wife there's some nice, we get a nice, beach home just south of Estero Island. You go south, there's some nice $5 to $10 million homes. I think, would do just fine for a beach home for us.
Right. Just save your money. Save your money.
playing the lottery, I suppose.
Oh yeah. Or if you need a loan, just ask Ron. He can give you.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, on that note, we have to start the meeting. So
All right. Okay.
happy Valentine's to everybody. John is there. He's our president. I don't see him, but I see his name. Steve is our first vice president. He's here. Glenn is our second VP. He'll be talking about the weather tonight. Alan's our treasurer.
He's here.
And I'm the secretary and do the website. Let's see.
And everything else.
And lots of other crap. Yeah. At the officers meeting last week, we didn't talk about March, so it's up in the air right now. If there's also rumors that Apple might announce things, so you never know what's going to come. But at the moment, I can't tell you about what the March meeting will be. We'll continue the membership rewards program. I've been writing people's names down on my little pad, trusty pad here, and we'll do a drawing in June at the June 14th meeting for the 4 $100 Apple gift cards like we have in the past.
All right. That's a good date.
Yeah, as I've mentioned, we have eliminated our PO box. So make sure if you want to send in by mail
Just drop it off at my mailbox. That's fine.
your dues, you have to send it to my address, which is on the website. Let's see, we have not really a Glenn's goodies tonight because Glenn's going to be doing the presentation about the weather, but it's sort of wrapped up together with that. We're at a questions and tips and tricks time. Anybody have a question for the group?
I have a question.
Okay, Lyman.
Looks like we've seen.
This has to do with mail. And it's the dreaded mailer demon
Yeah, sure.
failure to work. And I don't understand what's going on. I get an email from someone. I respond to their email and I get a notice back that it's undeliverable. Has failed to these recipients, and it goes through a whole lot of stuff and makes reference to a DMARC policy and says get in touch with your administrator. Well, that's me, so therefore they're screwed.
Well, maybe it's the person
never
you're
had
sending
that-
it to's administrator, not yours.
Well, but there's no administrator to get a hold of. So please call the administrator of AOL.com domain. What's going on? Why am I getting this back?
Is it only
Are you
Lyman? Is
getting
it
it
only
just for a specific email?
I'm
I'm not
sorry,
sure.
not all at once.
Okay,
Are
Lyman,
you
is it,
Oh, go
is
ahead.
it
Go, Ron.
coming from a specific email only, or is it for all sorts of messages?
It's happened typically on my AOL, but also a Yahoo account. And it happens sporadically. There doesn't seem to be any pattern of failures or any particular addresses. Seems to happen randomly.
That's kind of stumps me.
Has
Usually
anybody
it's,
had that happen to them? That
Nope.
that
not me.
message, getting that message back, Maynard Damon. Undeliverable message.
typically I will get it for an individual bad address, but not like just randomly. Typically it's associated with some kind of failure on the address you're trying to send.
What
So,
the address that I am sending to, Glenn?
yes.
But it's curious because they just sent me something and I am returning to that very same address.
Well, their mail server may not be the same as their mail sender. It could be different files. They could have problems. You might contact them and see if they have a lot of problems delivering it.
Complaints.
Hey, Lyman, this is
Yes,
Grant.
yes,
I'm not going to be any help here because I don't know the answer, but I've been repeatedly receiving mail delivery subsystem delivery status notification failure. And I've been getting it repeatedly. And I get it in chunks, like I'll have 6 or 8 of them in 2 days. And then things will go fine for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll have another 6 or 8 of them. And they've all been accompanied with my vanity email address. I have grant@grantmclaren.com.
Yeah.
And it's only when I send from that address and when I talk to the server administrators, they tell me that there was some code missing from my address that they could put in there. And they've done that. And I haven't had a failure since they've put that code in there. But I don't know what they did. I don't know even, it had a 4-letter abbreviation code, like DNCA or something like that.
Who are these people you talked with?
My server is at Bluehost.
Okay. My servers are, at AOL, for heaven's sakes, or
I think I may have experienced something similar. I have a vanity domain at coin.com and I host with Web66. And I've seen cases where I send somebody an email and sometimes it's rejected by the other side. And then I contact technical support and it has, or there's some complaint that my email has no SPF or my email has no DKIM or my email address does not have reverse DNS. 3 technical problems I don't really understand well. They have to do with the cheapness of the hosting service, because when you buy a hosting service for a few dollars a month, you get a shared server that's shared with a whole bunch of other domain names.
Yeah, I pay $6 a month, so I bet
There you go.
have.
That means they're cutting corners to cram multiple people on one server to be able to give you hosting for $6 a month. So you're not
Right.
going to have something like reverse DNS. You won't have your own IP address that's completely yours and not shared with other domains or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of corners they cut. They give you hosting for service for $6 a month rather than say $100 a month.
For
Right.
this reason, one of my colleagues mandated that I get a Gmail address.
Right.
They got angry because I was using my address, tammy@coin.com.
Yeah.
So they said, Tammy, you have to get a Gmail address because then you won't have this. The alternative is I think that I could rent space on a server. What was that, Terry? $100, $200 a month?
I'm not sure what it would be. You'd have to get a dedicated server or some kind of VPS, and I don't know much about that stuff. It's
I
more
think-
high-end web hosting shopping.
Yeah, I think we looked more than a year ago, and I think it was around 100, 200 a month to have the service level required.
The workaround that I've been using is I copy the message that I sent and put it on another email. I mean, like over the last 25 years, I've accumulated 30 email addresses. So I just pick a different email address and it works. But it's just,
Yeah.
Are you talking about a
question,
different
when
one on
you-
your own domain?
I'm sorry,
Are you talking about a different email address on your own domain?
I don't have a domain. It's
Oh,
not a personal domain. This is just, you know,
Lyman, next time you do that, when you switch email addresses, see if you can check in your settings, what is it sending out? Like,
the outgoing server.
yes, because like I've got one through Charter Spectrum because I have their cable.
Right.
I've got another one that's a Gmail. So I've got different ones. And so I'm wondering if there is a pattern that it's getting hung up on one of those.
That I can look at that.
Well, you said usually it's always coming from AOL, right, Lyman?
Well, it's because I use that most because that's the easiest one.
Yeah,
That's a lot easier than using lymanjohnson1@gmail.com.
I hear
Well,
you.
It's John at AOL. It's, you know, it's a no-brainer.
Being that AOL is kind of a dinosaur, maybe that's the issue.
Yeah, maybe it's an AOL problem.
I hope not, because that's 30 years of history scattered around everyone we've ever had communication with. Okay, this has been very helpful, guys. Thank you for taking time.
Sure.
Okay, Lyman. Any other questions out there for the group?
I thought
Ron?
I'd share. I don't have a question. Oh, go ahead, Dave. I'll let you go first.
Okay.
actually, I do
Okay,
have a
but-
question.
Mine isn't a question, it's more of a statement. I got my wife a new iPhone this last November. And she got up yesterday morning or the day before, wouldn't turn on. You know, she put it in charge overnight, nothing. You go, wow, what's going on? So we try to go online, and it's difficult to try to do a chat with the machine until you finally get to someone who can talk with you. And so we didn't make an appointment to go to the store, but they came up with a solution, which I think everybody might need to know on these newer phones. It's a force start. The force start is to press there's two volume buttons on one side and a single
Right.
button on the other side. You press
Yeah.
one volume button, the volume lower button quickly, then the volume upper button quickly, then you press and hold the other button. I tried, long presses. I tried squeezing two things at times, and nothing had worked before that. But it was a simple solution. I just want everybody to know with the force start.
Hmm.
You know,
So
David, I think I read an article about that because there was like
I don't
what you're
wanna have
saying
to-
sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
I hate that they keep changing that command with different models of phones. Cause then when like I'm working with somebody's older phone, I'm like, well, I don't remember what it was
Yeah,
back.
it's different other ones I know.
Yeah.
But I don't
I have
think I
a
had a need
comment.
for it. Okay.
I have a comment and a question about iPhone 14, or a question and a comment about iPhone 14. How many of you have bought an iPhone 14 and noticed there's no place to put a SIM card? Is the question.
Yeah, they're eSIMs.
They're
Got one
eSIMs
for my
now.
daughter.
Yeah.
Got one for my daughter. It's an eSIM. No SIM slot.
They don't have SIM slots. Yeah.
That is particular to certain countries, and people who travel a lot are annoyed by that because they like to be able to put in a local SIM from another country or whatever. And but it turns out I know that in Canada and in some other countries they still sell iPhones with SIM card slots. But if you were to buy from another country, you would have to be careful where you buy from, or the phone won't have a good selection of bands for the USA. So if you want a SIM card slot in the USA, the best one to buy is the Canadian phone, and it will be missing only the millimeter wave bands.
I did read Terry an article, and I wish I had saved it, that people traveling to Europe, there are ways that the European companies will accept, they actually will push the eSIM to your phone, because they can actually, those phones can hold more than one eSIM, as I understand it. But I don't have the article or the specifics anymore. But you might just do a search on that, and you might be able to find it.
My granddaughter spent a semester in Germany last year and came home in August, and she had her iPhone with her, and she just pulled her SIM chip out when she got there and got a local SIM chip and just popped it in, and then when she got back to the States, put her old SIM chip back in. But
Way it's been working.
yeah, it's been working.
Yeah, that's the way the phones did
Well, it used to
before.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any other comment or question?
Thought I'd show you guys something. So I turned my background off so you guys could see this little gadget here. So I've been looking for a mount since I have a lowly old iPhone 11 still. I have the 11 Pro Max. And I wanted to be able to use a continuity cam, but it's like almost all of the mounts for those for my MacBook are magnetic. Well, I can't use a magnetic one on the 11. So I tried to buy a non-magnetic one, wasn't really finding anything I really liked out there. So I simply found the plans for this little guy and then used a 3D printer to print this. And so this right here, this just hangs on the computer, and then your phone goes in the slot right there. And I've tried it a few times, worked pretty well. And the nice thing is this little design will also double as a little stand for your phone. So if you want to put this here, I just put that on the ground or on the table, put my phone right in there, and works pretty well. So literally 3D print job, and there you go. And if you're ever looking for stuff like this, there is a website I'd recommend where you can find a lot of stuff. It's Thingiverse, if you have not heard of that. In fact, I'll put it in the chat for you here.
Glenn, be sure and tell people who 3D printed that for you.
Well, those were one of my best friends at school is one of our librarians, and we have a 3D printer in our library. So I said, "Hey, you think you could do that for me?" And said, "Yeah, no problem." She said, "I'll do it for you tomorrow." I think she started at maybe, I don't know, 8:30 in the morning, and she brought it down to my room at about 1:30. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how long it was printing, but, and like I said, you know, see the design, but anyway, on Thingiverse, you can find all kinds of stuff if you just do searches for them.
Can you
So-
send out a link for that specific item?
I can try to find it for you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Actually, if you go to Thingiverse, you can search pretty easily for almost any specific item you want.
But there might be multiple ones that look just like that that aren't exactly the same.
Yeah, I just wanted to know the link that he printed, the one he
I
did.
know.
Well, for
Okay. Anything else out there? Question or comment?
Very
I
quickly,
just looked on my old mail and found that I had put in the trash an undeliverable mail returned to sender. Would you like me to put that on the GAMUG list? Email?
I'm not sure what you're asking, Grant.
Well, I thought I described it, that I was receiving these emails, undeliverable mail returned to sender.
Yeah,
They might match what Lehman's problem was.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
And the interesting one here is that the original email was sent to 4 addresses, and the undelivered ones only count up to 3. So one of them went through, and 3 of them didn't, and yet it's the fault of the sending address. Figure
Yeah,
that
that's-
out.
that is precisely the problem. The addresses are unchanged.
Right.
they're hardwired into the messages. And
The
so for
issue
some
here,
reason, it decides
the
they no
different-
longer want to talk to each other.
Have you checked out, Lyman, when you send a message, you can actually change the sending server.
Address.
Right,
There's a little
Yeah, you
drop
can
down
do that.
box.
right.
There is a place in settings where if you want to, you can select all sorts of the different.
Yeah, but you
servers.
don't have to you don't have to go to settings. Look at the email itself, there's a little box. It lists what you're sending from. Like mine will say, rmueller02 at earthlink.net. And I click that, there's several other addresses. Any other address I want to use is right there. If I click another one, it'll send from that address instead of what I usually send from.
Yes,
It might make it simpler for you to change your sending email.
I have done that, Ron.
Oh, okay.
Tried different addresses. I do it a couple, 3 times and it'll pick it up.
I have a comment about that scenario where one message sent to 4 addresses and 3 of them failed and 1 of them worked. What is going on is that the receiving server decides how picky it wants to be as far as rejecting mails that lack DKIM, lack SPF, or lack reverse DNS. And some recipients that you might send to from a cheap domain hoster are maybe more picky, while other recipients' mail servers may be more permissive.
You sound exactly like the guy I talked to at my server.
And he fixed it.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, I think it's time. We're going to turn this over to Glenn. I don't know if you were with us last month. He went through, I think it was 6 or 7 different weather apps, kind of an update to presentations we had done a long time ago. And I think he's got the second half of that for us tonight. Maybe about the same number. We'll find out, right? Okay.
I might have one more something. I don't remember anyway. So hopefully I won't bore you guys too badly, and I will continue through this. The one thing as I talk about these weather apps, sometimes I think in a way I play with so many weather apps that it's hard to really find a favorite or two. Like there's a lot I like, and so they all kind of can do what you want to do. And I would say pick the one that works for you, or that you just, for whatever reason, you like that one better. Everybody has their own taste. So that would be my best advice. So let me pull this up and I will share with you here. Can you guys see that so far?
Yes. Purple.
Yeah, I had to change up the color from last month. I couldn't go with the same,
No,
same-
sure.
I mean, whoop, that's not what I meant to do. I'm just trying to move you all out of the way. All right. So, I did, like I said, first half of these and just way too many. I mean, and there's a ton of weather apps out there that I'm not even getting to. And by the way, there are also a lot of specialty, what I kind of refer to as specialty weather apps that are just for one thing that you need. You want to track earthquakes or something, and you can find plenty of that stuff out there. So I really didn't get into too many of those little specific ones. So I know I can't do that. Sorry. All right. So I want to start you guys off here. And I want to talk about ambient weather. And I don't know if you guys have heard of ambient weather, but it really is for people who pretty much have weather stations. It would be one that, like I said, if you weren't using a weather station, you may not know about. But I thought I would share it with you guys because I have a home weather station, as you guys, I think, know. And so this, what you're literally seeing here is what it looks like when I go and I pull up my dashboard for my weather station online, and I can get all of this kind of data going. And so, I mean, literally tens of thousands of people have weather stations. You put your data online and then you can access it. Like I'm showing you here, this is kind of some of the things that you get from it, all the different weather alerts and stuff. So it's what I use. And I like being able to see my weather station. Like I was in the middle of teaching today and I got an alert on my phone saying, because I have certain alerts set that happen, and it's telling me, yeah, I'm getting more than a 1/4 inch of rain in this hour. So I have certain things that'll tell me that, and I know what's going on at my house from my weather station. So you can see, I was showing you in the background was the iPad. It's nice and big. You can really see it well, but you see the same stuff on the iPhone. It's just with less real estate. You don't quite see it as well. And it does the trick, I should say that, but it really doesn't quite shine like it does on the iPad just because of what you're seeing. So literally you're seeing some screenshots there of what I see when I go to my weather station. And I can get the forecast. It's showing me what's going on now. It's showing me data, I can see over the past 24 hours what was going on my station. Sorry, I keep hitting a key. It always advances my PowerPoints until I'm on Zoom. And that's why if you keep hearing can you guys hear it when my beep?
Yeah, it sounds like a little sucking sound to me.
Oh, it's actually my son when he was a baby laughing.
Oh.
I recorded him laughing when he was, I don't know, like 9 months old, and I put it on my computer and made it my system beep. So anyway, ambient, you can get forecasts through this, but it's more used to seeing weather station data, and it's more of a specialty app. So just thought I'd mention it, not going to spend a lot of time on it.
Glenn, does it allow you to see other people's weather stations?
That's what I was just about to show you there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So if you look at that screenshot that I just put up, see all those little dots around there?
Yeah.
Those are weather stations within that area. And the star is my weather station. And so I could click on any of those. And, if you're putting your weather station out there online and it's reporting online through the ambient network, then yeah, you can click it and you can get that information of what's going on there. One of the things that I love about is that it's very localized reporting. And so, because, when you generally go to a weather app or you get a forecast, you're getting it for, the entire metro area. And so this is a way for me to really look at, you can really zone in on literally a neighborhood to see, what is it you're getting there. And you can also, again, I can set it for alerts and customizations. Like I told you today, I got an alert that I was getting a 1/4 inch of rain in that hour. So that's kind of cool. And then they also have a nice social component. You can see that people can post reports and pictures of what they're seeing in a certain area. So it's kind of a cool little thing. If again, it's pretty much the domain of people who, have weather stations and look into that. But like I said, you can go in there and you can see reporting. So sometimes I can glean some information out of that. Maybe if it's like a snowy day and I'm wanting to know what it's like in different neighborhoods, especially if people are posting, pictures and reporting on stuff in a certain area, you can really kind of literally street by street or wherever you find weather stations.
That's cool.
So it's free. It's more of a micro level thing. You can get real in-depth reports. And you can get 10-day forecasts, fully functional, weather app. So you can get all the stuff you normally get. I like the social component and the ability to set alerts. It's not, a real flashy commercial app. It's pretty, bare bones, just giving you the data and everything. Again, I think that while I use it on my iPhone all the time, it really is nice on the iPad because as you see in the background here, you can see a lot more data at once on that bigger screen. All right, so let's move to the next one. I don't know if even a lot of people know yet, but there is now a Fox weather network. And so they are really kind of in business to compete with like the Weather Channel. And so, they've been on TV. Some systems have them, not every system has that, but you can also look at them, online. It's a 24-hour weather network. And as I say here, they only debuted in the fall of 2021. So, some cable and satellite systems have them, some don't, but, you can stream it for free right from, their website as well. As far as the app goes, I think they do a real nice job of combining weather news, with actual reporting and with video. And so there's a lot of stuff they put in there. I'll get to the Weather Channel app in a little bit. I kind of like their app better. The problem with these networks, you're always going to get the commercial aspects of them. And, you're going to get the ads and things like that. But I don't feel quite as bombarded with Fox Network as I do with the Weather Channel. I also like that you can get 14-day forecasts on the app. And you can also, right on the app, you can get the live stream from their network. So if you look in that second pane there, this is literally, I just put these 4 things in a row, and you're seeing if I scroll down on my iPhone, what I'm seeing is I kind of go further and further down. And so you can see at the bottom of that second pane there, that's literally the live feed from the network that, you can sit and watch that, right from your phone if you want. You can get live weather stories and videos and stuff like that. And really all the tabs on the bottom, they're pretty redundant. They're doing the same thing that you can get if you scroll, with the exception of the radar one. And that really is its own thing that you can get there. So the other thing is they have in here, they actually have sort of like, let's see, you can see where it says in the third one there, Earth and space videos. So there's kind of like weather and science related videos where you can actually do some learning and learn some stuff rather than just straight weather stuff on there. One of the things that I do like about their radar is they've got a 3D feature you can turn on. And you see, if you look there toward the bottom of the tab, it's just a little circle. It says 3D, and you can turn that on and off. And I really like the 3D visualization there. Because one of the things, especially when you're looking at a severe storm, a lot of times the height of the storm can give you some clues into the severity of it. I also just like the way it looks, frankly. One of the really cool features of the app is you can save a future event in there. And then when you get 2 weeks out, it'll start updating you on what the weather forecast is going to be for your event. And so I think that's kind of
that's a cool idea.
Yeah, you don't have to just keep checking it. It'll just send you the alerts and letting you know, hey, your event's coming up. And so kind of a cool feature.
Yeah, your outdoor wedding, not so much.
Yeah, well, if you live in St. Louis and you're having an outdoor wedding, you sort of are asking for trouble, in my opinion. So, although I think the worst outdoor wedding I ever was involved in, I was I was a groomsman in the wedding party in a tuxedo in very rural Arkansas in 105-degree weather. In the deep woods. And I'm like, man, that was just the most miserable. We all spent time picking ticks off of our bodies after that.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Ooh, wicked.
Yeah, bad
I
memories.
shouldn't laugh. That sounds terrible.
I can laugh now. It was many years in the past, but so basically the pros of this app, it's free. It's real easy to navigate, and when you're working with an actual weather network, generally they're going to give you quite a bit of content. I like that they have the live weather feed there. I like the 14-day forecast. They'll allow you to look up historical averages for the month. And really, there's just a lot of content on the main screen without having to go anywhere else. And I like the 3D radar. Cons, there are ads. And the more commercial the app is, the more you're going to get of that kind of stuff. While they do have historical data that I like, it's limited to only giving you like monthly averages. Like what's the, average temperature in February for St. Louis? It would be nice because there are some other apps where, you can just look, you can do a historical lookup by date to see what was going on that date. So, some of their stuff, the numbers they give you, they don't give you the opportunity to really go deeper like some apps do, where you can click on those numbers and then it'll take you into a new set of numbers looking deeper at the stuff. As I said before, the tabs on the bottom are pretty redundant. Like I can already get this on the main screen, and maybe some people like that you can just press that and boom, you're there, but it seems like you could do more with that. The one thing that I found odd was this app is hard to find in the App Store. In fact, would somebody do that right now for me? Just see if you can find it.
I did. It was the first one to come up.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Because when I was first trying to get the app, I had a devil of a time trying to find it. And I had two other people try for me and they had the same problem. So, okay, maybe that's been ironed out. Maybe there was a problem there for a while. So.
Nah, Steve just has power.
All right. For my next one.
Wow.
And
That does
this
not
is
look
one-
promising.
Yeah. Well, anybody want to guess what this is, Charlie?
Hurricane.
That's that hurricane you were talking about.
Yes, it was.
Ida, what was the name?
It was now, oh God, my mind just went blank. What was sorry, my mind is just blanking on this one. But this is Radar Omega, and Tammy mentioned this last time. So if you guys remember, last time I talked about one of the radar apps, Radar Scope. And I would say this is one that rivals Radar Scope that really is for use for, you got to be serious into your weather. You got to be maybe some kind of professional. You've got to be somebody who really understands radar. And I talked about this with Radar Scope last month, and it's the same thing here with Radar Omega. And, this is not for everybody. And I've got both of these apps on my phone. And generally speaking, the only time that I use them is if there's a real severe storm or there's a hurricane going on or something like that. What's real interesting about these two apps is that I don't know why, but there's like almost like this sort of cult following of both that argue back and forth about which one is better. If you go to the App Store, you'll find that Radar Scope has definitely higher ratings, but you'll find people that swear by Radar Omega as well. As Tammy again mentioned last month, Radar Omega is really popular with the storm chasing crowd. And talking to a couple professional meteorologists, they prefer Radar Scope. I would say it's whatever your preference is.
Actually, on the storm chasing tours that I've been on, we've been using Radar Scope.
Oh, have you? Okay. I just have heard that.
I think the Radar Omega, what I said about Radar Omega is like, I noticed that Radar Omega offers some features that in the Radar Scope, if you pay for one of the subscription services, you get some additional features. But I think the Radar Omega has one or two of the additional features.
Well, they both definitely.
That you don't have to pay the subscription. Oh, so if I want to use that one particular feature and I didn't pay for the subscription in Radar Scope, I could just jump over to Radar Omega. And I can't remember the name of the feature now. I had to do with
Yeah,
I'm not sure now.
which
In
one you're
Radar
talking
Scope, you
about,
can
but-
measure the distance to the
Yeah.
storm. You can also measure how high the radar beam is in the storm at a certain
Yeah.
distance
Both-
from the
both of them-
station. But
both
there
of
was
them
one other
do that.
function. I can't remember the function that you can get in radar in the Omega that's not in the Radar Scope.
Both of them offer very similar things. And here is what the app looks like when you're looking at the screen. You know, I think that one of the things I do like about Radar Omega is that it's much easier to switch radar sites, you know, because on Radar Omega, you can literally just go click on any of those dots you see, and it'll take you to that radar. Whereas on Radar Scope, you have to actually look it up by radar station and areas, and then you click on that and it resets it. I can't just move about on the screen. So I think that this is a little easier to use, a little more intuitive. And so you can see, like in that first screenshot there, I've just got the St. Louis radar turned on. There wasn't a lot going on there, a little bit of snow. And then when I went down to, like, you know, I think it was the Nashville radar, and the third one that I picked, you know, I love how it really puts that circle around and you can really kind of focus on that. The different icons do different things in there, and I'll kind of explain that. And so when you, like some of those other little bubbles, some of them have cams, like you can see this one there in Etheridge, Tennessee that I was looking at, and it was giving me, you know, the conditions there. But I don't know if you guys can tell on the screen there. Can you guys see those little streaks? That was actually precipitation coming down there.
Yeah.
So I kind of captured that picture off the cam, and you can actually see I don't remember if that was sleet or what it was at the time. So, so yeah, you can kind of, you know, zoom around that stuff, and I think it's real easy to do that. Now, this great image you're seeing here, you only get to see that with a premium subscription. So if you really want to see that stuff, that's on one of the premium levels. And so, but they do have a lot of, you know, 3D stuff. As Tammy said, you can change your radar beam to whatever altitude, so you can see what the storm looks like at different altitudes. And so you can see some of the things that you can look up there. Quite a bit of preferences for you that you can set up, you know, based on what it is you're looking for in there. The other thing that's real cool and that I like is, you know, if you live near the water or you're going to be, you know, out on the water somewhere, you can pull up buoy and water conditions. So literally these next 4 screens, I clicked on, let's see, I was clicking on this buoy. I don't remember which buoy it was there, but you see the ID number, and it's literally at that buoy out in the ocean is giving me, you know, the wind directions, the speeds, the gusts, all that stuff that's going on off the coast. It's also, you can see the wave height on some of them. So, you know, if you're going to be out on the water, you know, and you got a boat out there, that can be pretty handy. Also, you can get tide information there, as you see in that last one. I've got tide predictions for Naples there. That was from February 1st. So you can get some really cool water stuff going on besides just radar things. So
That's good. Just a question. Were you using this when Ian was hitting the coast? And did the site stay up pretty well?
I was not using this, so I can't answer your question, unfortunately.
Okay.
But you know, now I wasn't doing, I wish I had, because it would have been real fun to track those buoys out there to see what you were getting off of them.
Yeah.
There would have been some eye-popping numbers, no doubt,
Yes.
if stuff was reporting. There, by the way, you can see the subscription levels here. So, you know, again, unless you're really into this stuff, you know, this is not something you're probably just going to go out and get this app. You know, you're gonna, you know, want to be doing some serious stuff with it if you're going to spend that kind of money. But
Right.
there is some really cool stuff. Once you put all that stuff together, I mean, you can, you know, get some really cool models and hurricane hunter data of the hurricane hunter flights that are flying into the hurricanes and things like that. So there's some really neat stuff there. And you get, I'll show you, this is just a little cool animation of a 3D animation of a storm here. Whoop, sorry, that did not work. Let's try that again. There we go. And so you can really see, again, that height of the storm and what it looks like in 3D as everything's in motion. So that's pretty cool stuff. Even if it means nothing to you, it looks cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how thick that storm looks.
Yeah.
Is that actually the
So-
scale on the height of it?
I believe so.
Wow.
So, you know, the basic app, you know, you can get it for free. Nice graphics. I mean, extremely powerful radar tools, like I said, to analyze stuff. I love the water and wave stuff. The one thing that I love Radar Omega over Radar Scope is I just feel like it's a little easier to get from radar to radar site. I love being able to click in and get the cams. But again, if you want the really good stuff, you got to go into subscriptions. And again, you know, it's not for the casual person. There is a desktop version of this. Again, a subscription one, which I would think would be pretty cool on a nice big screen, especially, you know, before the meeting, you guys were talking about your nice big monitors. This stuff would look awesome on some really nice big monitors. All right, moving on to WeatherBug. Anybody here ever used WeatherBug?
Yeah.
My wife has.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know-
I used to see it on PCs a lot.
You know, WeatherBug was real popular and it's kind of waned a little bit. In recent years, I still think it's a good app though. But it's actually one of the oldest weather apps out there. And it actually literally has a history stretching back into the 90s. And it really came out on iOS. I think, I don't remember if I put this in here now or not, but I want to say it was earlier than 2010. So it was one of the first ones. And they do have kind of an interesting history here. I thought I would just share this with you guys. Originally owned by Automated Weather Source, the WeatherBug brand was founded by Bob Marshall and other partners in 1993. It started in the education market by selling weather tracking stations and educational software to public and private schools, and then used the data from the stations on their website. Later, the company began partnering with TV stations so the broadcasters could use WeatherBug's local data and camera shots in their weather reports. In 2000, WeatherBug desktop application and website were launched. Later, the company launched WeatherBug and WeatherBug Elite as smartphone apps for iOS and Android, which won the App Design Award in 2013. The company also sells a lightning tracking safety system used by schools and parks in Southern Florida and elsewhere. And in April 2013, WeatherBug was the second most popular weather information service on the internet behind only the Weather Channel's website and ahead of the sites run by Weather Underground and AccuWeather. So yeah, as I said here, an iPhone version of the app was available in October 2007. I would be really curious. I was looking, but I could not find. I would love to have seen what the app looked like in 2007, but I couldn't find any screenshots of that.
It wasn't so easy to make screenshots in 2007.
Yeah, that's true.
So as you can see from the background here, they have a fully functional, weather site, and they've got quite a bit of information that you can get from it. Again, I like there's a camera section. Also, I use on there, they have weather and traffic cams, so you can see what's going on out there. And again, I love that, especially for like snowy days, being able to, get some of these street cam, traffic cam views. Because, a lot of times you're like, well, should I go out? Should I not go out or whatever? And I think that's, really comes in handy. And you can see just around here, all kinds that they tap into around the area that you can tap into from WeatherBug app. As far as this app, I kind of call it my old faithful. I mean, I've been using this app forever. I couldn't even tell you how long I've been using this thing. And the thing I would say about it is, as I say here, no matter how much it evolves over time, it always just seems to do a nice job. It's not quite as popular. There's a lot more weather apps out there now. So I think it's fallen a little out of favor. It's not the latest and greatest thing, but it really does a nice job. And you can upgrade to the WeatherBug Elite for $9.99. And I really think on your home screen, it just has real nice options, and you can actually change the order of your widgets on the screen. There's also a lightning detector, which is something that comes in handy for me when I'm coaching outside. I use that. And so I've got it turned on for alerts. And so I really like that with WeatherBug. So you'll get an alert that looks something like that. That was when I was putting this presentation together, there was no lightning by me. So that was the closest I got, was 383 miles away, which was just fine by me.
I've noticed that WeatherBug's cloud maps are behind some of the others and behind where the real clouds are. They're just a little later.
Yeah, I would say that,
updated.
but also, Alan, I would say sometimes it really, I've noticed looking at like apps side by side on a couple different phones that are using a different service, they're not quite the same either. So that might also have something to do with your, where you're getting your service from. But
Well, I was comparing it to where the storm was, when it's outside the house.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I actually noticed, though, a little bit of variance in a lot of these apps. You can put them all side by side and looking out your window, and you'll see a lot of variance.
Yeah. Well, my wife uses this one all the time.
Okay.
It's always given her allergy alerts.
Yes, I was going to mention they do have that stuff in there. And you can see here, these are just screenshots from the app. And, you get a lot of information. I think it does a great thing, great thing with information. I like that it gives you options for a lot of different layers on your maps. It's a nice app. It's very reliable over time. And, other apps kind of come and go. And like I said, this one's just kind of old faithful to me.
Well, and very quickly, is that $9.99 a one-time charge, or is that a monthly charge?
One time.
Oh, good.
What I do like is the Watch OS app for WeatherBug. It's one of the best ones that I've used for weather. And a lot of the weather apps for Watch OS are just, you pull it up and it's just one little screen and that's all you get. But with WeatherBug, you can actually scroll to get different amounts of information. And so that's a little different than a lot of the weather apps for your watch. So, I would really recommend it to use on your watch if you want to get information other than just it's sunny and here's the temperature. So again, the Pro's free, pretty reliable. It's got a nice looking interface, but it does have the WeatherBug, website network behind it. Gives you nice customizations. You can kind of do what you want with it. I like the cams. I love the watch app. And as Alan mentioned, they have, I like the allergen data, also moon phase data they give you as well. you got to upgrade, you know, if you want to get a few things on there. The biggest thing when you upgrade, you're getting rid of the ads. So, you know, that depends on how much they annoy you. You know, there are some people that have reported some bugginess with the basic app. I have never encountered any of this, but maybe it's because I've got the Elite app, which I don't think I ever paid $9.99 for, but that's probably because I did it years ago. So I have no clue what I paid, but just a very reliable app. So again, I recommend it.
Glenn, does the basic app include the Apple Watch supplement, if you will? Or do you have to get the Elite to get that?
Oh gosh, don't quote me on that, but I think it does. But I would check that out for yourself before you do anything.
I've got it on my watch too, and I don't remember ever paying for it actually.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I think it came with the basic, just the basic app.
Okay.
All right, so next I'm going to move to the Weather Channel, and I don't know, you know, Weather Channel has kind of been the mainstay of weather, you know, and obviously, you know, it's still where I go to first on television when I want to flip my TV on and get national weather stories. I don't have the Fox Weather Network, so I go to Weather Channel. They have the snazzy new setup and everything set there that you see. You know, Weather Channel. I mean, I think everybody knows the Weather Channel. It's probably, as I say here, it's the biggest name in weather after the National Weather Service, and was the first dedicated weather channel, 24-hour weather channel that was out there. And I really think though they made their, you know, their bones. They really became famous for the field reports during that should say severe storms, by the way, not severe storms. You know, and I always, you know, wanted to be one of those guys standing out there in the hurricane or snowstorm or whatever. And when I was younger, I always thought those were the cool guys. I wanted to do that. So
Yeah, they're just staying out there and the hurricanes trying to blow them down the street.
I still think I'd like to give that a try, you know. My wife tells me I can do it as long as the life insurance is paid up. So
Yeah.
So the app will give you all the data you could ever want. But I would also say this, it's probably the most commercialized app that is out there. And, you know, I guess you expect it because they're tied into a TV channel, but I got to tell you, I really don't like using their app very much. It drives me crazy, frankly. You can, you know, the regular app's free. You can upgrade to the premium app, and they have a couple different tiers there. And if you just want to get rid of the ads, you can pay $9.99 a year to get rid of the ads. I think I'd rather just go to a different app. Thank you. But the premium upgrade, you can get hourly forecasts out to 196 hours. Now, I don't know how useful that is or how accurate that is that far out, but you know, I've never seen anybody else that you can get that far out, that many hours out. And if you have the free app, you're going to be bombarded with ads and be encouraged to upgrade. I frankly think it's getting worse and worse over time.
They have a stupid ad where they say level up your forecast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, you're just, like I said, it's like you feel like you're being hit over the head with their ads. The other thing that's annoying is the Weather Channel tends to buy a lot of other apps out there. In fact, yeah, I used to have a go-to weather radar app that I think I don't have anymore. I think I deleted it. Oh no, Storm Radar used to be my favorite radar app. Used it all the time. Excuse me, but the Weather Channel bought it and it just went downhill from there. And now, like, I loved it for the future radar. And now if you want to get that, you have to pay for it. And it's like, okay, I don't even use this radar app anymore because the Weather Channel has just ruined it. You know, for the downside of that stuff, I would say that they're very reliable. I like that you get a 14-day forecast versus the 5 or 10-day forecast you get with other people. And like the Fox app, you get a lot of videos on the app and a lot of health and activity stuff when you scroll down on there. So, that stuff is pretty good. Sometimes I find their app to be very slow responding, especially like when I wake it up from, if I've had it on and the phone goes to sleep. I don't know if it's just because there's a lot of video content and other stuff that does that. I also noticed that it drains my battery a lot more than other apps.
Glenn, did the Weather Channel also buy out Weather Underground?
Yeah, that was like a dagger to my heart. That is one of them, and I'm going to talk about Weather Underground here in a minute. So, yeah, I hated that because while I still like Weather Underground, I don't think it's quite as good as it was before they bought it. One of the things that I will say about the Weather Channel, great feature, you can see these lock screen widgets. And so they give you some nice information on those widgets. And I love having, excuse me, Aaron, my mouth is really dry as I'm talking. I love being able to just pick my phone up and get some weather on my phone without having to, go into it or everything. So I love the widgets that they offer here. You can just see some of the screenshots from the phone. But again, I'm saying use at your own risk because you're going to get the ads that they don't really show you here from their little thing. Their Apple Watch screenshots, they do give you some nice data. I still like WeatherBug better, but you do get some nice data on the Apple Watch screenshots there. Has anybody ever used this on their Apple TV by any chance?
No.
I've not done any of these weather apps on my Apple TV, but that is what it supposedly looks like when you put it on your Apple TV and you go to it from there. So anyway, I think I've kind of pretty much gone through most of these pros and cons with you guys already. One thing I do love their extra data sets for like illness stuff, like they'll track flu and air quality and outdoor activity stuff. I think they do a real nice job there. One thing that I will tell you, it's a very large app. It's a 254 megabyte app. So, that probably all that and the content probably lends to the slowness of the app. And, so just again, at your own risk, you might get bogged down. You might get bombarded by ads.
Glenn, do you use it mostly on your iPad or on your phone or what?
I don't mostly use it for anything.
Oh, okay.
I have it, but I really don't use it much. And they've gotten more and more and more commercialized with the apps. And so I find I use it less and less and less.
Sure.
All right. So here's Alan's favorite app. Is it still your favorite, Alan?
Which one? Oh,
Windy?
Windy. I go to it when there's storms coming because it's got great views of hurricanes and things like that all over the world. And
obviously,
and it's really current on its data. That's why I was comparing the WeatherBug with.
Yeah, it's one of the things about, of course, there's a reason they call it windy because they have some really great animation and detail of winds, and they do a great job with that. Better than a lot of apps do.
And you can change what level that you're looking at if you know where to change it. It's a complicated app a little bit, but you can look at the high winds or the ground winds or whatever in between.
Well, that's one thing I was kind of going to say here is that I think it's an app that people might glance at it and not realize what all is in there. Because like Alan said, once you start looking around, as I say here, it has over 40 map options, temps, humidity, satellite, Doppler radar, air quality, waves, wet bulb temperature, ISO lines, fog and hurricane tracking. I mean, you can get all kinds of stuff. So, like the radar part is what you mainly see, but there is so much more behind that again, I don't think people really appreciate the app and everything it brings. So what I would recommend is if you're checking this app out, really check it out, really get into it, and see all what's in there. And the free app's going to give you a ton of information. They do have a subscription thing for either per year or one time. And you can get hourly forecast updates, because the free app just gives you the forecast updates in 3-hour segments. Also, when you upgrade to the subscription, they are giving you a better network and more precise data, supposedly. I haven't subscribed, so I can't talk about that. I do find their upgrades are a bit odd, because just about every app out there gives you, they give you the hourly forecast for free. That's just normal. Whereas Windy, it's only a 3-hour thing and you got to pay to get the 1-hour stuff. So I think that's, a little weird. As far as the faster network stuff for that, haven't really seen that before. So I don't know how much better that would be. One of the things that I recommend the app to everybody. I think it's a great app, but I would say if you are somebody who is doing activities where you need to know about the wind patterns and wave patterns, definitely get this app. If you're a pilot or doing any kind of sky sports, great app for you. By the way, also check out their web map at windy.com, because you get that same animation, but in a nice big, on your screen, nice and big. So, that's kind of when you have the basic app on, and again, you see, which way the winds are going. And the data they give you when it's not always on the screen, you got to tap and it'll bring up, the forecast there, but you also get some real nice data in the box below. And you can see that not only are they telling you the temperature and winds, but I like that they're giving you the wind directions and the gusts and things like that. So if you really look at it over a number of hours, you can really see how the weather patterns are changing by the wind direction. And so you just click on the bottom, it pops up. I would say that's not totally intuitive. They maybe could make that a little better. I think you have to remember, like, how do I pop that up and where's that at? So if you're not used to it, that's something you have to get used to.
Well, you could save a city that you use all the time. Otherwise, you can click and get that map on any city in the country.
Yeah, what I was saying, Alan, though, is it's not.
I lost you.
Glenn, we lost your audio.
Can you guys see the box that I popped up here?
We lost you for a little bit.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I get a little, your internet connection is unstable. Okay. If you choose a location on the coast, you can see, I don't know, is this too small for you guys to see what's in that box?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's showing me wind gusts, wave heights, swells, and the swell period in there. And so it's really useful information. Again, if you're out on the water on the coast. So when I pick that area on the coast versus say like St. Louis here, I can get that information. You can also look at, if you've got a turned landscape where you can see it, you can also choose to see like really a much longer timeline, and you can see the winds aloft. And so at different levels of the atmosphere and, just kind of what's going on with the weather. And it's showing you like a little graphic representation of the clouds there and everything that you're seeing. So that's pretty cool. So I was talking about the options you can get. So when you like start looking through these options, you start to just see this main menu and it pops out from the right of the screen. And then when I hit more layers, it's like, you guys see what I'm saying here when I'm saying, there's just so many different things that they have embedded in here that you can pick from. And it's just, man, it's just a ton of things that, you know, if you didn't know, first few times I picked up Windy, I had no idea this stuff existed till I really started digging into the app, and they just offer all kinds of really, really cool stuff. You know, they even allow you, if you scroll all the way down when you're on that right side, you can pick the forecast model. Now, I don't know if you guys know what that stuff is, but sometimes you'll hear people just talking about different forecast models, and you know, you can choose different ones to see. Well, different forecast models are going to sometimes be different on what they think's coming, just to get a different idea. And if you have the premium level, you can see all of those forecast models side by side to compare. So that's kind of a cool feature with the different forecast models. You can see also when you look at an area where water is, you can actually see the wave direction, you know, that's going on here, and the tidal heights. In fact, I'm going to try to, I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to share my phone here so I can actually show you this in action, because that doesn't really do it justice. Allow, come on. All right, there we go. Can you guys see the animation there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the colors indicate the wind speed.
I remember.
Yeah,
that.
Arrow at the bottom, yeah.
or like the wave heights, you know, when you really get in here, you guys can see how, like, you see the detail of that motion there. You know, when I'm looking at a screenshot, you can't really tell. So, I mean, my screenshot doesn't really, you know, do this stuff justice. I can also pull up webcams when I'm clicking on some of these places. So I really like that as well. So anyway, I just wanted to show you how that stuff is moving. Windy is, I think, one of those that you really have to look at it to appreciate it, not just screenshots of it, because the animation is just super. So you can
Yeah,
see.
look what's over South Dakota up there, or North Dakota up there on the left.
Oh yeah,
really coming down.
Yeah. Let me go to waves here.
Waves. Okay.
And so now what you're looking at, you're not looking at, can you guys see that moving there?
Yeah.
That's no longer the wind moving, that's the wave direction moving. And the wave heights are by color, just like wind gusts by color before. And so you can really see where things like the waves are flowing inshore there. So I think that's a pretty neat feature.
That's nice. Yeah.
Go back to my presentation. So again, that's one of those that you have to kind of play with to see it, to appreciate it. So I just showed you this kind of stuff, but you can go all over the world and look at cams. There you go. We got Key West, we've got Paris, you know, and you want to see a volcano there on Hawaii, there you go. So that you can actually access webcams from all over the world.
Glenn, are these updated like constantly?
I think it depends on the webcam. Here, I'll go back to, and we
But
can,
like the waves and stuff.
the waves. That's
live.
Oh, it's live. I mean, I couldn't tell you.
I guess what I wonder is, how do they gather that information? Are there buoys everywhere? I don't know.
Yeah, they're getting from buoys, from radar stuff, etc. I couldn't tell you all of the methods. You have to go read up on that, frankly.
It just seems amazing to me that they can gather all that information from the entire Gulf of Mexico, you know?
Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Okay. So let's go.
Hello, Walter.
Oops, sorry. Where do you guys want to go look at a webcam? Someone give me something.
Yeah.
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. I was going to go to Switzerland.
Well, let me look at my calendar. I know I called. That's why I like to leave you a text message, but you don't have a thing to do that.
Well, I'm not seeing that.
Let's see.
So
It's
let's
just
try.
north of Rockford.
Yeah, I didn't see that there. I mean, I can zoom in further.
Alan,
no.
mute yourself.
No, what I've got tomorrow is I'm
Alan,
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 hold on a second.
you-
Excuse me. I got a call.
okay, sorry.
Well, I was going to show you a webcam from where near my parents live in Costa Rica, but that's all I'm getting here. Let's see. This is over 24 hours, but I don't know what in the world we're up. There they go. There's the ocean. So that's what you've seen in the last 24 hours on this webcam.
Got dark. Okay.
Well, I guess that was at night there. And then as it got light. So like if I stop it, that was 10 hours ago. My parents live about, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes from where this webcam is down in Costa Rica. So I love that I can sit and go all over the world, you know, and I mean, I'm just, you know, let's see if I want to go find something, you know, I don't know what I'm looking at. Let's see. There we are. We're on, we're over in Europe.
Oh,
Or I don't
Venetian.
even know
Venetian
what-
port, huh?
Well, it's in Crete, but so, you know, it's amazing to me. Like, yeah, let's see, Venice. I mean, it's at night. So, but if let's get some daylight, that's somewhere around Venice, maybe there. Don't know what we're looking at, but I think it's, I don't know. I could sit and play with that for hours. I could just sit and look at, you know, webcams from all over the place and see what's going on. So,
Yeah, really. Will it show you webcams even from like war-torn Ukraine?
let's see. There's not a lot there. I'm
Their
looking on my
internet's
phone.
blown up.
Yeah, I'm seeing a few. Well, like right on the board, I am not seeing any actually reporting in Ukraine right now. Doesn't mean they're not there. It just may mean they're offline.
Yeah,
But anyway, I think that's fascinating to be able to do that.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
by the way, the app on the iPad, I love it on the iPad because, and again, you're not seeing this in motion, but if you look at the iPad or the web app on your computer, you get the same functions, but that big screen just, it's so much better than the iPhone on there. You know, you really can see this in its full glory. So I really recommend it for those bigger screens as well. And the Watch OS app, for as good as I told you WeatherBug was, I think Windy tops it and is the best weather app for Watch OS. And because you can see here what you're doing, you've got, that's the Watch Home, what it looks like when you pull it up. And then you click on one of those. And now it takes me, there's my forecast one, and I can scroll down to get more information as I go down. If I go into the radar, it actually gives me radar on my watch, which not all of them will do. Not many of them will do. I can see the wind forecast. I can see MADAR data. And for those of you who don't know what that means, if you see below there, it's Meteorological Terminal Aviation Routine Weather Report. So that's basically giving me, you know, cloud and visibility report for Lambert. So all of that is from the watch. So if you want one watch app for weather, to me, Windy is it. It's the best one. WeatherBug is good, but it's not as good as Windy. Windy is the best one out there.
Cool.
Also, they give you different watch faces if you would like. So you can actually set your watch to a windy face if you would like. So if that's what you want your home screen on your watch, you can have it right there without going into the app. So anyway, I think I've kind of covered the pros and cons there. You know, the only cons really, because I've really, you know, praised this app. I do think the iOS app is a little bit cramped to me. And sometimes, as I mentioned before, it's not always intuitive as to where I need to press to get what. I have to think about it. And even when I haven't used it in a while, I have to stop and think about where am I pressing. I wish you could add more than one layer at a time on there so I could see multiple layers. I think would be cool.
Did you say what a subscription costs?
Yes, I had it back. Where did I put that?
I just missed that, I guess.
There you go. It's either $18.99 a year or a one-time $29.99 payment.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an underrated app, and I think there are a lot of people who aren't familiar with Windy. So definitely worth checking out, guys. All right. My next one, as Tammy had mentioned before.
Glenn,
Yeah.
one of your pictures had a tornado in it. Is that a picture you taken in a tornado that you saw somewhere?
No. Nope.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
You know, I have stood about 200 yards away from a tornado, but I didn't have any pictures of it. So, nope. All these I have found other places and I just thought were striking, like this one. By the way, I didn't mean that as a pun.
Yeah.
But it is a nice lightning strike, and that's a fierce looking cloud there.
Okay.
So, Weather Underground. I would say that Weather Underground is my go-to. That's usually the first one I just look at. And so Weather Underground's got an interesting history. It was founded in 1995 as part of the University of Michigan Internet Weather Database. And by the way, the name is related to the 60s radical, group, which also originated at the University of Michigan. So Weather Underground is a commercial weather service, and they provide weather information for cities, newspapers, third-party sites, and as well as the AP, the Associated Press. And so their information comes from a combination of both the National Weather Service and literally hundreds of thousands of personal weather stations. Literally, when I go to Weather Underground, I usually have it for the location I'm in, but other than that, my setting is for my weather station. It pops up on Weather Underground because it reports through there. So unfortunately, in 2012, it was purchased by the Weather Channel. They operate as their own entity, and both them and the Weather Channel are owned by something called the Weather Company. I thought the Weather Channel app, like everything else, was better before it was bought by Weather Channel, but it's still a good app. And so, like I said, my weather station reports my data, and I can look it up through Weather Underground. By the way, I mentioned Storm Radar here. I already talked about that, but that was originally Storm Radar was released by Weather Underground that I mentioned before, that I thought the Weather Channel kind of ruined after they bought all this. And like I said, it's kind of my go-to app. That's where I usually start. And I like it because, it can be very localized. You're literally seeing like data. That data was from my weather station there. And I like that more than just the metro area. I like that localized weather data. Now, the forecast is not for my street from my weather stuff. That's just the local forecast, but the data is localized. It's got a pretty simple interface, but I think it's a nice interface. And this here is what you see when you scroll down the main page. So you've got the kind of the personal weather data there, the conditions, the radar, then you get the forecast, and you go down, you get air quality, and you can get sun or moon information there. Now, you're going to see, as you can see on my screenshot, you're going to get some ads. It's not near as bad as the Weather Channel, but there's more than what there used to be. And it hasn't got to the point where it annoys me like the Weather Channel does. But if you upgrade to the premium plan, you get rid of the ads, and you also get up to a 15-day forecast. Plus, you get smart forecast for outdoor activities. And you can see there it's $19.99 a year or $3.99 a month. Now, when you click on the main temperature, the precip and the radar, you get additional screens will pop up. So if I click on that little dial that shows the temperature, that is the screen that pops up. If I click on the radar screen, that's what my screen will look like now. So you can kind of dig in deeper and stuff. And when you click on a day in the forecast area, it will bring up either the daily, the hourly, or the summary forecast. I like that. So you can choose between any of those three. Whether you want to have daily. The only annoying thing I find is when you go to the hourly one, I wish it would start on the hour you're on, but it always starts on the day you're on at the very early morning hours. And then you have to scroll across to get, to where I want to go. Cause I'm usually looking ahead like, hey, what's it going to be like at 6 a.m. when I leave my house tomorrow morning? So I've got to scroll to the next day. So that's a little annoying. When you click on air quality, you also get more details. So it'll delve into what exactly, the air quality is and what the pollutants are in the air. And if you click on the sun and moon thing, you can get sun info or you can get moon data as well. So the app's free, simple to use. The interface is easy, just got to scroll. You can press on things to get more info. It doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles to overcomplicate it like some apps, but it does a real nice job. And like I said, if you want to choose weather stations, you can choose very local weather stations to you. Also, their website is a great resource, wonderground.com. Again, subscriptions. I will say this about their forecast. One of my big complaints about Weather Underground, their snow total forecasts tend to be on the high side. So I can't tell you how often I look ahead at snow forecasts and going, holy crap, we're going to get buried, and it's usually not that bad. So I would like to see if I want local radar stations, local weather stations. I wish they would appear on the map and I could just click on them, but instead you actually have to search for weather stations to find them. So you kind of have to have some information about that to be able to find those. All right, one last thing, and this is totally different. And before I wrap up, this is an app I just happened to see something about, came across it. It's not going to give you all the bells and whistles of other apps, but it really looks cool and has some awesome animation. So if all you want is something real simple, just tell me the weather and give me a real basic forecast, but give me something that looks cool. This is the app for you. And like I said, I think I came across this when I don't even remember where I came across this. I think it was an article, but it's called Not Boring Weather, as you can see. And so that's kind of what it looks like. So a little bit of interesting stuff about this. So Andy Works, he's the developer of this. And he originally got his start with a group that was part of the company 53. Any of you ever use the app Paper on the iPad? I guess no. They created that. And so they sold 53 and they wanted to, as they kind of moved on and created this Andy Works thing, they wanted to create apps that they weren't just functional apps, but they wanted them to be, as I say, pleasingly fun. I mean, as they say here, let's start over. How did our apps get so boring? It's time we put the value of aesthetics, play, and quality of life over convenience. And we're starting with the essential apps we use every day. Plays like a game, works like an app. Next generation user interface designed and built in 3D with animation, physics, and sound inspired by video games. Just what you need, not a button more. Apps that do one thing exceptionally well with boldness and clarity. Swipe and tap. Big readable numbers you can read from across the room. Skins, and especially if you buy their subscription, you can get skins, and the skins will allow you to change things. So again, this app, I'm not showing you because this is the greatest weather app with the greatest data, but it's unique. It's kind of fun. And so I'm going to show you a video so you kind of get the feel here. And so could you guys hear the sound okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I heard some sort of music.
Well, and they have little sound effects in there. You can see here if you hear this and see it. So they animate what's going on, and they have sound effects if you could hear that, and just like a little music that goes with it. So and if you're moving, you can rotate it and stuff like that's kind of what the animation looks like when you move along. It'll change it to night or to day. You can see that. And so that's what the animation of the app looks like. And if you're somebody who appreciates animation and aesthetics, it's just a cool app. I don't know. It's just something I really enjoy. And I just kind of found it. Again, it's not where I'm going to go for my weather data necessarily, but it's a really fun little app. By the way, if you buy a subscription, you get their app bundled. Includes, they have a calculator, a timer, and a habits app. Plus you can have skins to change the look of the app. And they're working on like future apps that would become part of the bundle. But here's their thing. You can, so if you want to become either a believer or a patron is what they call it. So you can get that stuff. So just kind of a fun app for you that I thought I would include. And there you guys go.
Yeah, I don't think I use that one either.
Well, I think, Alan, I think it's for those who, again, are kind of tickled by the animation and the little things in it. Like, I really appreciate it, even though it wouldn't be where I'd be going for my weather data.
Well, I think if the video game generation would find that really useful and much
Like I
more
said, if you just
interesting
want-
than
Yeah.
boring data apps are. But you have to start somewhere. You start with that, then eventually you get into the boring data apps.
Well, anyway, there you go. 2 parts. I hope I didn't bore you guys too much, but gave you some things to think about apps. Again, I would say find what you like, what works for you. Find what, just fits your personality. And there's going to be quirks of each one. You're going to find even, I cannot say there's one app that is more accurate than all the other apps, because one might be better for radar. One might be better for forecasts. One might be better for, they all do different things, and they're all worth checking out.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. That was really thorough for sure.
Thank you.
Don't forget, I'll post the video of this entire thing, and you can go back and look at parts of what Glenn said, but also he'll give me a PDF or whatever of his presentation, so you can go back and look at specific pieces of it, the prices and all that kind of stuff. Okay, thank you so much. Let's see what time we have left. Oh, not a lot. Okay.
Sorry.
No, I liked what you did with that. What I'm going to do now is there were, I guess in the past week, maybe it's almost 2 weeks now, Apple announced several new things. An M2 MacBook with a Pro and a Max M2 chip choices in it. They also announced M2 Mac Mini, and then kind of what do you can call it, a rehash of the old
HomePod.
yeah, HomePod. Remember they had HomePods and they stopped. Then they had the HomePod Minis. Now they've brought back the HomePod. Of course,
Faster processor in it, I think.
yeah, it has that and it's other different features of it. So what I'm going to do is kind of quickly here, because our time is a little bit limited, show you some things. And what I've got, I don't know if this will change or I'll have to stop the sharing every time, but we'll give it a try. Okay. Can you see that it says MacBook Pro?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
By the way, if you click on watch the announcement, it's an 18-minute video about all those three things that we just mentioned. So they have the two chips, M2 Pro and M2 Max. And you can see the differences in what they will do. And then they talk about the new M2 Pro. And these are, I think you have a 14 and a 16-inch, and with these different choices. And the M2 Max, of course, faster speeds and all that kind of such. Plus, they can address more memory. Here's some comparisons with, notice the old M1 Max is faster than the M2 Pro, but not as fast as the new M2 Max. So you get some comparisons, which means the M1 MacBooks are not outdated. They're just a little bit slower. Battery life, the 14-inch model, 18 hours, up to 12 hours of wireless web browsing. And the 16 to 22 hours video playback and up to 15 hours web browsing. Up to 8 terabytes SSD storage. Of course, the more storage you get on them, the more expensive they are. Take, of course, Ventura. The displays, ProMotion, which is really an interesting feature. I don't know if you've seen that on one of your MacBooks, but what happens is as you move, the camera moves with you. And exactly how it does that, I don't know, but it's amazing to see. Notice, I believe that last number is 1 billion, is it not?
Yes.
With all those zeros. So 1 billion colors. I don't know that any of us can actually see that many colors, but anyway. And of course, the different stats on the two different models that they have come out with. Studio quality Mac, 6-speaker sound system. So they've kind of upgraded everything in the systems and such. Here's the different ports that they have. So again, if you're a person that doesn't want dongles, there's less perhaps need from them. They also have the MagSafe 3 and Touch ID. It says use AR to see the MacBook Pro in your workspace. How that works, I don't actually know what that means, because I don't know. AR glasses or something. I don't know.
No.
It intrigued me when I read that.
What you do is you view it on your phone and you look through your phone's camera to see it, and it puts this in the middle of your screen to show you what it looks like there on your desk.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what good that does, but
Well, now I see this little print. Open this using Safari on your iPhone or iPad. I have to try that and see what in the world that will be seen.
well, they do that for furniture. Like you go to IKEA or something like that. You can
Yeah,
see
yeah, you're
furniture
right.
on
I have
on
heard
the
that. Here's
couch.
comparisons of all the models that they have available at this time. So that's that particular Apple website on the MacBook Pro. Now, if I switch to this, do you now see this guy?
Yeah.
Okay, then good. I don't have to get rid of him. He's going to talk about the differences between the two. It's only a 4-minute video, so I don't think it's too bad.
Pro and M2 Max MacBook Pros compared to the existing.
Now, are you
Core
hearing
GPU,
him?
Depending on your M1
Yeah.
Pro.
Yes.
Hold on. I jumped it ahead. I didn't mean to. Okay, I just want to know if you were all seeing him. Or I'm going to click on expand and see if that works.
Max MacBook Pros compared to the existing M1 Pro and M1 Max versions. Welcome everybody, welcome to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here, and I am back in the studio after CES, and it is a January release for Apple, as it has announced a slew of new Macs, new versions of the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros, as well as an updated Mac Mini, all with Apple's M2 Pro and M2 Max silicon on the inside. I'm going to walk you through everything that's new and when you can get your hands on Apple's latest Macs. Let's start with the silicon that's on the inside of Apple's new Macs. Apple is now moving from an M1 Pro and M1 Max to the M2 Pro and M2 Max. The biggest changes here is Apple is going from a 10-core CPU to a new 12-core CPU. Previously, Apple was using 8 high-performance cores and 2 high-efficiency cores. The new M2 variants have 8 high-performance cores and now 4 high-efficiency cores. Overall, you're going to get more cores of your CPU, but the additional high-efficiency cores are apparently leading to better battery life, because Apple says the battery life can be extended roughly an hour or so compared to the existing models. The previous generation MacBook Pros started off at the entry level with a 16-core GPU in that M1 Pro. The new M2 Pros start off now with a 19-core GPU. If you were upgrading that GPU, the old version, you could go up to a 24 or a 32-core GPU, depending on your M1 Pro, M1 Max configuration. But the new M2 Pro and M2 Max, again, starting out at 19 cores, but you can go all the way up now to 38 cores for that GPU. So 32 to 38, maxing out the GPU. The old MacBook Pros with the M1 Max on the inside would cap out at 64 gigs of memory. The new M2 Max, however, while it still has the same 400 Gbps bandwidth memory, it can be capped out at 96 gigs of memory. Apple also took this opportunity to greatly improve the video output capabilities of the new MacBook Pros. If you outfit the 16-inch MacBook Pro with an M2 Max processor, at most you can still do 4 external displays. But if you did 3 external displays, you could run 2 displays at 6K resolution and 1 display at 8K resolution. Or you could do a 4K monitor, but at 240 hertz. Those are big improvements on the new Macs. Seriously, I'm really excited about the new video output capabilities. I saw some incredible monitors at CES, including some from Samsung, that were just lust-worthy, but they were technically 8K resolution and wouldn't be supported on current Macs. But thanks to the new M2 Max chipset, we can now start to test those new 8K monitors. Going back to other improvements on the MacBook Pros, Apple has migrated from Bluetooth 5 to Bluetooth 5.3 and upgraded from Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 6E. Apple says Wi-Fi 6E can be up to twice as fast as Wi-Fi 6 in certain areas. So finally, maybe time to upgrade those routers. Let's talk pricing and availability. Apple's new MacBook Pros are available to order right now. I have links. We've started gathering deals and putting them down below in the description, as well as pinned in the comments. If you order now, these will start shipping on January 24th, though they are already selling pretty quickly, and depending on your customization options, those dates may slip. The new models start off for the 14-inch M2 Pro MacBook Pro at $1999, $2,000, or if you want the 16-inch version, it starts at $2499, $2,500, so $500 more, opting for the 16-inch version of the MacBook Pro. If you were to max out the new MacBook Pros, you could get a 16-inch MacBook Pro with 96 gigs of memory and an 8 terabyte internal SSD, and it's going to set you back a cool $6,500. That's the top of the line MacBook Pro that you can get right now. So let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for this upgrade? Will you be upgrading your Mac, whether it's an existing MacBook Pro or whether you've got something smaller or older? Let me know down below in the comments or on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. Stay tuned. We're going to have a hands-on with the new MacBook Pros very soon.
Okay.
So Glenn, how deep are your pockets? You gonna get a new one? No, I think I lost.
I'm sorry, I talked over you. You didn't hear what you said.
All right, nope, I was muted there.
Oh, okay.
Not planning on it. I'm pretty happy with what I got right now. So, I don't
Yeah,
feel
it's,
like I upgrade that.
I'm amazed when they
As-
talk about an 8K monitor. Can you imagine? Anyway, it's almost like becoming a video workstation.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it really is.
The next thing is the Mac Mini, which the biggest deal is it's going to be, it's much faster. You get the M2 and versus the M2 Pro. The speeds have changed and so on. I'm going to leave this because you can go yourself and take a look at all the things about it, but go to this video where he talks about it. I think is more interesting. Okay, let me see.
At $599, the M2 Mac Mini is definitely a really hard deal to pass up. I mean, no one's going to blame you. But depending on what you're planning to do with this shiny new Mac, it might not be the best option for you. Now, before we get into everything, please be sure to subscribe and, of course, like the video if this helped you out at all. But most importantly, let me know in the comment section down below what type of Mac you're looking for, or if you're just kind of curious between whether or not you should go and spring up for the M1 Pro, or I'm sorry, the M2 Pro or the M2 Max. Let me know in those comments down below. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram if you want to carry that conversation over to another platform. So let's take a step back a minute and assess your needs. If you're someone out there who's just checking emails, casual web browsing, video consumption, you're just needing a computer to pay the bills, research some stuff, etc., then this is a great machine. And in all scenarios, we're going to assume you have a monitor and a keyboard and mouse, because otherwise it starts to get a little sticky. Things start to add up here and there depending on your wants and needs, and then it might just be an easier thing to just go out and get a MacBook Pro. But if you really want a Mac desktop and you have everything you need for it, you just need the computer, I'm going to help you decide which one you should get. If you fall into the description that I just mentioned, the chances are the base model M2 Mac Mini, it's going to be just fine for you. But there are a few things that do worry me about that computer for anyone out there that's looking to do just a little bit more. I have an M1 Mac Mini, and while I do expect M2 to be a bit faster in certain situations and much more efficient than M1, the 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigs of storage really killed me with the M1 model. I'll give you a little story. I was using the M1 Mac Mini, and I still am, but I was using it for primarily hosting the podcast. We use a program called Ecamm Live, and I think a combination of just Bluetooth issues and the overall processing power and the low amount of RAM and storage just kind of ate away at the machine. And that program shouldn't really be that difficult to manage on this Mac, but it really had a hard time to the point where certain things were just not being picked up. Audio would cut out. The Bluetooth headphones would be affected. And there was just situations where I couldn't run the Rode Podcaster Pro that we had. It didn't work. And the moment I switched over to the M1 Max MacBook Pro that was running the whole setup, everything was flawless. We had no issues. And this actually carried over to a program that we used before Ecamm, where we used a web app enabled website to host the platform. And I think a lot of the issues did still come from my machine's inability and basically the lack of performance on that machine to carry everything and that workflow. And that was really the hardest thing that I put it through. And then other than that, it just, some light editing here and there, and it really had a hard time. And then I was using an M2 MacBook Air, and this is it right here. And I love this machine, but I had the base model at first, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, the lowest processing power you can get. And it had the same issues. It was not that good. But the moment I maxed it out a little bit, I went up to a terabyte of storage, but everything else, the CPU, GPU, the RAM, everything else was at its maximum capacity, and it performs amazing. And you can pretty much do anything that you want to do on this for the most part, and you're going to be just fine. And so that's kind of where I don't want people to fall into the same trap. So here's my recommendation. If you're looking to stay cheap, but get a little bit more power out of your Mac, and kind of future-proof yourself a little bit so you're not in a year or two thinking you made the wrong decision and you're kind of stuck with it, at least get 16 gigs of RAM and at least 512 gigabytes of storage. And I'm not entirely sure if this is still the case with the Mac Mini that's coming out, but in previous machines, Apple has gone with 1 NAND SSD for the 256 model. And when you go anything up over that, you have 2. And that does eat into performance of the SSDs. People found out and did tests and found that it was slower. And most importantly, if you run out of space on your Mac, because you have only 256 gigs of storage, it's going to start to eat into your virtual memory, and it's going to start eating into your performance that way, and things could start to slow down. You definitely want to avoid that if possible. Now, when you price out what I was just explaining to you, you're looking at $999, which is still a pretty good deal, all things considered. But I think for anyone out there who's going to do part-time or even full-time content creation, web development, graphic design, music production, all of this, anything that requires more CPU and GPU cores, the $1299 price tag really becomes the best Mac Mini you can get for the M1 Pro model. And it's going to maintain that performance level and cost effectiveness. So you'll get the 512 gigs of storage, you'll get the 16 gigs of RAM. And another thing that's going to be going a bit unnoticed is that on the back, you're going to have 4 USB-C Thunderbolt 4 ports instead of the 2 that's offered in the base M2 model. So basically 2 additional Thunderbolt 4 ports alongside the 2 USB, the HDMI and the gigabit Ethernet port and the headphone jack. Either way, out of all of the machines and chips that were announced, I think the M2 Pro machine is the better deal out there for most creators and people who just want more power out of their Mac. It's nearly a baby Mac Studio at a fraction of the cost. Obviously, you're not getting that full power of the Ultra chip or anything like that, but I think for most people who are doing this work and don't need it to be anything more than what it is and just to get your work done, I think you'll be just fine with the M2 Pro. Of course, I won't know entirely for sure until I get it in hand, which we will next week. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video where I fully test it out and try to get some benchmarks run and everything and just see where we're at in terms of performance. Of course, I would love to hear from you down in the comments, and I hope to see you guys around in the next video.
Okay, and the last thing is the new HomePod. Let's see what time we got. This film is 2 minutes.
We don't have no audio.
It's turned up. I don't know. Well, then I won't play this thing.
You just send a link to it.
It doesn't make sense if we don't have audio. Okay.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I've got one HomePod. If I had one of these, is the old ones compatible with the new ones?
No,
That's a good question. I couldn't answer.
I
no,
doubt it.
you cannot combine an old one and a new one and get, let's say, stereo out of your Apple TV, for example.
Well, I'll play this. If anybody needs to go, because it's going to go past our normal time, because it's 7 minutes.
It's between the second generation HomePod and the HomePod Mini.
But he might answer that question.
Welcome everybody to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here, and Apple has had the HomePod Mini on the market for a while. Comes in a bunch of fun different colors. It's small, pretty affordable, and a pretty solid smart home speaker. But Apple also just released the second generation of the full-size HomePod. So what's the difference between the smaller HomePod Mini and the larger full-size HomePod, other than $200? That's what I'm going to go down in this video. I think what is important to start with is not how these two devices are different, but how they are similar. Both of these are smart home speakers designed and sold by Apple. You can play your music through them, cast audio from any of your Apple products, and they each have Siri built in. They have the same smart home features, including the ability to measure the temperature and humidity in any room they are placed in. They can also act as a Thread border router, connecting any of your Thread devices to your smart home network. And they both will act as home hubs for your HomeKit accessories, enabling remote access and processing of HomeKit secure video locally on your network. Plus, both of these can act as a Matter hub for any of your Matter accessories. Other similarities between the two, they each have Apple's U1 ultra wideband chip, which allows for directional location, allowing for easy handoff of audio from your iPhone to the HomePod and then back to your iPhone again, or doing the same thing with phone calls. They each support AirPlay 2 and multi-room audio. Plus, you can create a stereo pair of 2 HomePod minis, 2 full-size HomePods, and one or both of these can also be paired to your Apple TV as dedicated output speakers. That said, there are several differences between the two. Let's start with the existing HomePod Mini. This is the HomePod Mini. It retails for $99 and a very compact smart speaker. It measures just over 3 inches tall and comes in 5 different colors. This is orange, though it also comes in blue, yellow, space gray, and white. Has a permanently attached power cable on one side. It's a braided power cable and has USB-C on the other. Inside is a full range driver delivering 360-degree audio. There's also dual force canceling passive radiators as well to improve the bass response, though not nearly as much bass as the larger HomePods, as we'll see in a moment. There are 3 different microphones inside to work with your Siri request, whether it's getting the weather, setting a timer, or checking in on your smart home. Inside, powering the whole device, is Apple's S5 processor, which debuted with the Apple Watch Series 5. Then we have the full-size HomePod. The full-size HomePod retails for $200 more, $299. Since it's brand new, there are less deals on this, so you're going to be more likely paying full retail price. It comes in 2 different colors. This is Midnight, which has a slight blue hue to it compared to the space gray of the HomePod Mini. The also other differences here is that the full-size HomePod has a detachable power cable. So it's not a USB-C power cable, but it's still just a kind of proprietary opening there. But when you remove it, which comes up very easily, there's a standard kind of figure 8 power cable in there that you can just swap with anyone that you have around your house. Something that would be plugging into a TV or your PlayStation would likely fit right here in the back of the HomePod. So if you ever damage the original cable, you can swap it out for one you may have around the house. The larger HomePod is 6.6 inches tall, which is double that of the HomePod Mini. Producing the audio here is a dedicated high excursion woofer, as well as a 5-tweeter array. Now, there are 2 less tweeters than in the original larger HomePod, and it's slightly smaller than the original HomePod. But in my experience, this does not sound any worse. In fact, I think, especially in the mids and the highs, it does sound better than the original HomePod, despite fewer dedicated tweeters. Compared to HomePod Mini, there are 4 beam-forming microphones compared to just 3 in the Mini. And the larger HomePod has room sensing capabilities. The original HomePod, when moved, would detect movement and then recalibrate the audio for its new position. The new HomePod is basically calibrating the audio on the fly, so it doesn't detect when it moves, but it still detects the audio in the room that it's in, tuning it for its environment. That automatic room-based tuning is only available on the larger HomePod. Another difference that I've noticed is because of the S7 chip in the full-size HomePod, it's a lot faster, especially at processing HomeKit and Siri requests. It can really bust through setting scenes, automations, as well as responding to you when you do invoke Siri. So for that wireless stuff, or if you just want a more snappy speaker, the big HomePod's where it's at. Finally, the full-size HomePod, when paired with your Apple TV, can support Dolby Atmos spatial audio. It gives you a much more realistic 3D audio effect versus just stereo sound coming when you pair a set of HomePod minis. That's a lot of different specs, but what does that actually mean on the 2 devices, and which one should you frankly just buy? Honestly, there's a lot of people that love the better sound that comes from the full-sized HomePod, but it can also be overwhelming in smaller rooms. For smaller rooms, absolutely buy the HomePod Mini. It's also much more affordable. There's no feature difference between a HomePod Mini and the larger HomePod. The only difference is going to be in the audio quality. If you really insist on better audio quality and more bass, go with the full-size HomePod, especially if you plan on pairing a set of them with your Apple TV and want the improved audio experience thanks to Dolby Atmos spatial audio. In those cases, go for the full-size HomePod. But 2 HomePod minis, I think, sound almost as good as 1 regular HomePod, and it's $100 less. So depending on your situation, I think the HomePod Mini is still the one for most people. The full-size HomePod is great, sounds a lot better, and has just massive room-filling audio and substantial bass behind it. But not everyone is going to pay the $200 difference it's going to take to get to that feature. Unfortunately, I can't play a lot of audio for you because a lot of it's copyrighted. But here's a few different audio tests you can hear for yourself the difference between full-size HomePod and the HomePod Mini. Come with me as I dig in deep to Apple's 2023 16-inch MacBook Pro with its top-of-the-line M2 Max processor. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here. Come with me as I dig in deep to Apple's 2023 16-inch MacBook Pro with its top-of-the-line M2 Max processor. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Apple Insider. It is Andrew here. In the end, it's really hard to tell you which one to buy. I mean, this is seriously the one for most people out there, but you can't argue with the fact that this one sounds a whole lot better. If you want the best audio, go for the big one. Otherwise, the HomePod Mini, you can't do wrong. Let me know what you guys think. There's links for each of these down below in the description. I want to know your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. Otherwise, stay tuned. I've got a lot more videos coming your way.
How do you build a monthly budget? Building a monthly budget can give you a
Okay, everybody, that is everything.
Well, thank you, Glenn. Don't worry. Oh, I guess he's gone.
I guess Glenn had to
Another meeting.
go errand duty. It is Valentine's. Maybe we had to deal with something there too. In any case, thanks everybody for coming tonight. Like I said, I don't know exactly what we'll be doing in March, but we'll let you know. And I hope you found that some useful things. Don't forget, I will post links to all the things I just showed you and to Glenn's presentation and the entire recording of tonight on our website. Okay.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, all of you.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.
Good
Good
night.
holiday. Good Valentine's.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.